You were named, chosen before the noise ever learned your name, and that is why the silence around you has never been empty. You have been walking through days that looked ordinary on the outside and weighty on the inside, like carrying a sealed letter that no one else could read. Some mornings you stood in your own room and felt as if the air itself was waiting for you to notice something you had not yet seen. The title over this message speaks like a door opening, and the door is not asking you to force it, only to stand near it long enough to know it is real. There is a kind of reward that does not arrive like a sudden storm, but like bread placed in a hand already opened. There is also a kind of reward that begins long before the hand understands what it is holding. That is why your life has felt both delayed and protected. What looked like absence may have been restraint. What looked like restraint may have been preparation. You were never being ignored by heaven. You were being kept from receiving too soon what would have been too small for the person you are becoming. Even now, something in you recognizes that this is not ordinary encouragement. It touches the place where your hope has been bruised, and it does so gently. Stay with that recognition, because it matters more than hurry. There is no shame in how long you have waited. There is only truth in the waiting, and truth is already beginning to open its own hands. You have known the strange discipline of continuing anyway when the answer had not yet arrived. You have learned how to speak to God while looking at unpaid bills, unanswered messages, and a room that still needed order. You have stood in the kitchen, the hallway, the bus seat, the workbench, the curb, the bathroom mirror, and each place quietly asked whether you still believed. That question has followed you like a shadow, but it has also trained you to notice what shallow comfort can never give. A reward from heaven is never merely about having more. It is about becoming ready to carry more without losing your soul. That is why the weight has been so exact. That is why the ache has felt personal. It has not been random delay. It has been a refining pressure. There are moments when you wanted an easy sign, and instead you received a steady one. Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you, and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuru readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment. There are moments when you wanted a loud rescue, and instead you received enough strength for one more faithful step. That is not nothing. That is how heaven often works. The hand opens first in the heart before it opens in the visible world. You may not see the whole path yet, but you are not wandering without meaning. The road beneath your feet is teaching you how to receive without panic. The waiting has been making room in you, and what is being prepared for you will not fit inside the old version of your fear. There is a line that runs quietly through the whole of Scripture and then lands in your own life with surprising tenderness. What is hidden is not forgotten. Abraham waited, Joseph waited, David waited, and none of that waiting erased the promise. The promise was not weak because time passed over it. The promise became weightier because time could not kill it. Your own story has carried that same strange gravity. You have seen enough to know that not every closed door is rejection, and not every long season is punishment. Sometimes the closed door is the mercy that keeps you from entering before the house is ready. Sometimes the long season is the shelter that keeps you from building your life on shallow ground. You may have felt overlooked by people, but heaven does not forget a hand that has remained open in the dark. The world measures by speed, by noise, by proof. Heaven measures by faithfulness, by surrender, by the kind of patience that keeps breathing when no applause comes. That is why the reward coming toward you is not random blessing. It is correspondence. It fits the place where your tears were hidden. It fits the place where you kept going without being seen. It fits the place where you said yes with trembling and did not know whether anyone heard. Someone did hear. Someone did keep record. Someone did not let your obedience disappear into the ground. Your life has not been wasted in the waiting. It has been written into a larger promise than impatience can understand. There is also a cost to being chosen that few people talk about openly. It means that certain comforts no longer satisfy you the way they once did. It means you can sit in a crowded room and still feel the ache of being set apart for something you cannot fully name. It means you sometimes carry joy and grief in the same breath because the promise has begun to press against the reality, and they do not yet look alike. You may have wondered whether this tension meant you were failing. It does not. It often means you are being stretched into a greater capacity for trust. A small cup does not know what to do with a flood, so it trembles before the pouring begins. Your heart has trembled for that reason, not because you are weak, but because what is coming is larger than the old frame around your life. That frame has kept you safe, but it cannot keep you small forever. When God prepares a reward, He does not simply hand over an object. He often enlarges the person who receives it. That enlargement can feel like discomfort before it feels like joy. It can feel like a loss of familiar ground before it feels like arrival. But even the discomfort carries mercy, because it means your capacity is being honored. You're not being asked to pretend the ache is absent. You're being invited to let it become a doorway instead of a prison. The hand that has been open in prayer is the same hand that is being trained to hold more than it used to hold. What is coming is not too late. It is being aligned with who you have become. You have had moments when you wanted to turn your own story into evidence against yourself. You looked at the unfinished parts and called them failure. You looked at the delays and called them denial. You looked at the detours and called them confusion. But the deeper truth is gentler and stronger than that. The unfinished part is not proof of abandonment. It is often proof that the story is still alive. Dead things do not stretch. Dead things do not resist. Dead things do not ache toward a future that has not yet arrived. You ache because life is still moving in you. You stretch because something holy has not let you settle for less. In the quiet places, your spirit has been learning how to stand without immediate confirmation. That is a sacred kind of strength. It is not loud. It does not need to announce itself. It often appears as the ability to keep a soft heart without becoming naive, to keep hope without pretending pain is not there, to keep faith without forcing outcomes. That is why the coming reward will not only answer a need, it will confirm a formation. It will say that the hidden labor was not wasted. It will say that the tears were not invisible. It will say that the small obediences mattered more than you knew. The hand of heaven is never careless. If it is preparing something for you, it is also preparing you for it, and that preparation is already part of the gift. You may have noticed that some doors close with a harsh sound, and others close so quietly that you only understand later that mercy was inside the closure. Your season has carried both kinds of closings. Some relationships did not remain. Some plans lost their shape. Some hopes took longer to mature than you wanted. Yet even then, there was a thread of preservation running through the losses. What left did not always leave because it was evil. Sometimes it left because it could not carry you where you are meant to go. A reward from heaven often comes after God has removed what would have diluted it. This is why the waiting has felt so personal. Your life has been under patient rearrangement. Pieces have been moved without your approval because your sight was too small to see the full design. That can feel unsettling. It can also feel humiliating when you wanted control. But there is kindness in being handled by wisdom larger than your fear. You have not been abandoned in the rearrangement. You have been guided through it. The hand that closes one road may be the same hand that opens another, and the two gestures are part of one love. The reward you are approaching is not just a surprise. It is a confirmation that what looked like loss was not the end of your story. The place you thought was empty may yet become the place where gratitude settles first. The heart that has been stretched can recognize the shape of mercy more clearly than the heart that was never stretched at all. Still, there were nights when your body knew the truth before your words did. Your shoulders carried the burden. Your jaw held the unspoken questions. Your chest tightened when you thought about tomorrow. You tried to pray past the heaviness, but the heaviness remained, asking to be acknowledged rather than denied. That is not weakness. That is human honesty before God. There is a holy difference between pretending and trusting. Pretending says nothing hurts. Trusting says the hurt is real, and God is still here. You have lived inside that difference. You have learned to sit with the ache without worshipping it, and that is a form of maturity. The reward on its way to you will not arrive to bypass your humanity. It will meet you inside it. It will not mock your tears. It will gather them. It will not shame your questions. It will answer them in time. Even now, the presence that has kept you is not distant. It is close enough to notice the tremor in your hand. It is close enough to count the private battles you never announced. It is close enough to know that you have been trying to stay faithful when no one was clapping. That is why you are not being asked to become someone else before you receive. You are being asked to keep your hand open as you are. The reward is not for a perfect performance. It is for a heart that kept turning back toward God when it could have closed. There are seasons when people around you think your life is quiet, but inside you it has been a field under rain, receiving in secret what only time can reveal. You have had to cultivate patience in places where impatience would have been easier to explain. You've had to keep your integrity when shortcuts glittered nearby. You've had to trust the slower path when faster paths looked glamorous. That kind of faith is not dramatic, but it is deep. It is the kind that survives when emotion runs dry. It is the kind that remains when no one is watching. And it is exactly that kind of faith that can hold a heaven-sent reward without turning it into an idol. Some blessings overwhelm the person who receives them because the person was never formed for stewardship. That is not what is happening here. This season has been making you capable. It has been making your mind steadier, your reactions slower, your discernment sharper, your gratitude cleaner. The reward may look like arrival, but underneath it is also a commissioning. You are being entrusted. You are being included in a wider yes than the one your fear can measure. The open hands you have been practicing in the unseen are becoming the very hands that will know what to do when the gift arrives. That is why the journey matters as much as the destination. Heaven never sends a gift without also tending the vessel. There is a strange peace that begins to appear when you stop demanding that every delay explain itself. You do not have to force clarity from every closed chapter. You do not have to turn every silence into a verdict. Some things are only understood when they are no longer resisted. Your spirit has already begun to learn that. The breath comes a little easier when you cease arguing with what you cannot yet alter. The shoulders lower when you stop treating every unknown as an enemy. This does not mean you stop asking. It means your asking becomes quieter, more surrendered, less frantic. That quieter asking makes room for the answer to arrive as something deeper than information. It may come as timing, it may come as provision, it may come as a restored appetite for life. It may come as a door that finally feels like yours. The reward on its way does not need your panic to reach you. It needs your openness. It needs the same hands that once clenched around disappointment to become hands that can recognize grace. That is the mystery of your current season. The waiting itself has become part of the gift. It has been loosening the grip of fear so that when what is true comes near, you will not mistake it for danger. You will know the difference because you have suffered enough to care and hoped enough to recognize mercy. If even one of these signs has landed inside you, if your shoulders loosened at any point while reading, type 888 in the comments. Those numbers are not magic. They are a quiet agreement that you have recognized the weight of what is being said. They mark the moment when your heart stopped defending itself for long enough to receive. The smallest yes can matter when it is sincere. Type 888, then come back to me. Let the act of writing it become the place where your resistance begins to soften. Do not rush past that moment. Let it settle into the part of you that has waited the longest to hear that heaven has not forgotten you. What you write there does not create the promise, but it acknowledges the promise. And acknowledgement matters. It steadies the inner ear. It prepares you for the next movement. Come back after you write it, because the story is still unfolding, and the hands that have been open are about to learn a deeper stillness. The journey has also been teaching you that not every open hand is weak. Some hands are open because they trust. Some hands are open because they are no longer trying to control the outcome. Some hands are open because they understand that release is not loss when the giver is faithful. You may have clenched your life tightly in past seasons, trying to protect what mattered, but protection can become imprisonment if it is driven by fear. Your present season is teaching a better way. It is teaching the courage to release what you cannot carry into the next chapter, even if your emotions still want to hold it. The reward coming toward you may require exactly that kind of surrender. It may ask you to receive without bargaining, to receive without replaying old disappointment, to receive without preemptively shrinking it. That is a sacred discipline. It is the discipline of a heart that knows the difference between grasping and receiving. You are not being asked to become passive. You are being asked to become available. Availability is often the doorway through which heaven enters ordinary life. The table is prepared more often than we realize, but many do not sit because their hands are still full of old fear. Your emptying has meaning. Your openness has meaning. The gift can only rest where there is room for it to land. There was a day when a quiet sentence began to live inside you, even if you never said it aloud. You can make it through this. You can keep going. You can stay tender and still survive. That sentence was not loud, but it was sturdy. It carried you through errands, through work, through care for others, through the moments when your own needs had to wait. It also carried you through the temptation to dramatize your pain so that it would feel more valid. Pain does not need theatrics to be real. It only needs honesty. And your honesty has been becoming cleaner. You have been less interested in appearances and more interested in what is true. That shift is one of the clearest signs that your reward is not far from your inner reach. The person who can receive with integrity is already being formed. The person who can bless others without resentment is already being formed. The person who can say yes without needing to own the whole future is already being formed. The waiting has not simply tested you. It has translated you. It has turned raw longing into a quieter confidence. The reward that is coming will meet that confidence, and the meeting will be gentler than you expect. It will not feel like a stranger arriving. It will feel like something longed for finally taking its seat at the table you have kept ready in faith. You may still be tempted to measure your life by what has not happened yet. That habit can be hard to break because disappointment has taught you to scan the horizon for what is missing. But there is another way to read your days. You can begin to notice what has been sustained, what has been preserved, what has quietly continued even when your feelings were tired. Your breathing continued, your conscience continued, your capacity to hope continued, even if it came back limping. That is not small. That is evidence of mercy moving under the surface. Sometimes the greatest miracle is not the sudden event, but the hidden continuity. The reward of heaven often travels along that hidden path. It meets a life that has not fully collapsed. It meets a soul that is still listening. It meets a person who has learned to say, even with trembling, that God is still good. That sentence may have cost you something. It may have cost you pride. It may have cost you the illusion of control. But it has also kept you connected to a current deeper than your circumstances. The current has not dried up. It has only gone underground for a season. And what goes underground does not disappear. It prepares the ground for what breaks through later. Your life is not running out. It is becoming ready. There is a kind of sacred fatigue that comes from holding yourself together for too long. You know that fatigue. It shows up in the shoulders that drop when no one is looking, in the thoughts that slow down late at night, in the brief desire to stop trying so hard. Yet even that fatigue can become a place of invitation. It invites you to stop pretending that your strength is endless. It invites you to admit that you need grace more than you need applause. It invites you to let your life be held by something steadier than willpower. That kind of admission is not defeat. It is honesty, and honesty is a doorway. The reward coming toward you is not only for the strong version of you, it is for the tired version too. It is for the version that has kept showing up with less energy than before and still kept choosing faith. There is no shame in that. In fact, there is a deep beauty in it. Heaven does not despise exhausted obedience. Heaven can build with it. It can bless it. It can answer it. Your tiredness does not disqualify you from receiving. It may be the very place where receiving becomes most profound, because you will know that what arrives was not manufactured by effort. It was granted by mercy. That is a different kind of joy. It does not brag. It bows. And there are moments when a simple, ordinary object can become a witness. A cup on the counter, a key by the door, a folded coat on a chair, a phone face down and silent, a lamp left on in the evening. These small things have watched you go through more than they can say. They have stayed in place while your thoughts traveled far ahead or far behind. They have not judged you. They have simply remained. That is often how grace works too. It remains. It waits in plain sight until your eyes are ready to notice it. The coming reward may arrive with that same quietness. It may not shout. It may not need to. By the time it is near, you will already have learned the language of small mercies. You will recognize the steadiness in it. You will feel the lack of pressure, the absence of manipulation, the sense that this was always meant to fit. Your heart will know when something is from heaven because it will not need to be forced. That is part of what the waiting has taught you. It has taught you discernment, the ability to tell the difference between a glittering distraction and a true gift. Keep that discernment. It will serve you well when the opened hand finally meets what was prepared for it. The gift will not require you to betray yourself. It will confirm you. If this message has confirmed what your spirit already knew, let your like be your amen without words, not as a metric, as an agreement that what was named here was named correctly. There are times when the heart says yes before the mouth can organize the sentence, and that simple gesture can mark the moment. Let it be quiet and sincere. Let it mean that you are not resisting the tenderness that is arriving. Then come back to me, because the story is still moving, and the next part is for the person who can receive without needing to perform. The like is not for display here. It is a small altar of recognition. It says, you heard, you understood, and you are willing to stay open. That kind of response matters more than noise. It carries the scent of agreement, and agreement prepares the next step. Come back after that gesture, and let the rest of the message meet you where the first part left off. There is also someone in your life whose face has just come to mind while you are reading this. Someone quietly tired, someone secretly seeking, someone carrying a posture nobody sees, someone working hard while feeling unseen. Do not dismiss that nameless thought as random. It may be the place where your own receiving turns outward into care. Send this to that person, not as a recommendation, as a delivery. The same way it was delivered to you, by appointment. Sometimes the reward of hearing is not meant to stop with you. It is meant to travel through you towards someone who is too weary to ask for help directly. That is part of the generosity being formed in you. You are not only being comforted, you are being trained to recognize the comfort another soul needs. The person who came to mind may not say much, but their silence has been heavier than their speech. They may need a word that arrives without pressure. Give it that way. Let it be a gentle hand on a heavy door. This is how heaven often multiplies what it gives. One heart recognizes another, and the mercy keeps moving. Before this closes, type the words "I am chosen" in the comments, not as a wish, not as a hope, as confirmation. Type it slowly and let your fingers do what your spirit is already learning to believe. This is not about pretending to be something you are not. It is about agreeing with the name that has been waiting for you to recognize it. Write it in the language of your own heart, and let the writing become a seal of quiet consent. There's no need to force emotion around it. The act itself is enough. The act says you are ready to stand where the promise has been leading you. Then come back to me, because the final movement is not another request, but a settling. It is the place where the story stops reaching and starts resting. It is the place where what was spoken becomes part of your inner record. When you look back now, you can see that the waiting was never a blank space. It was a corridor where your soul learned how to hear again. The closed doors taught you discernment. The unanswered prayers taught you endurance. The long nights taught you how to distinguish panic from peace. The hidden tears taught you that God sees what people miss. The open hands you practiced in secret are the same hands that are being prepared for what is on the way. The reward has been moving toward you through all of it, not bypassing the process, but honoring it. That is why this does not feel like a shallow promise. It feels like a line finally completing itself. You were not forgotten in the pause. You were being shaped inside it. The promise did not die in the delay. It deepened. And now the deep thing is ready to meet the deep place in you that has waited without fully giving up. That meeting will not be loud in the way the world expects. It will be steady, unmistakable, and kind. It will fit. It will recognize you. It will not require you to become someone else before receiving. It will simply ask you to remain open. You are held when you are certain, and you are held when you are not. You are remembered in the room where you wept, and you are remembered in the room where you kept smiling for everyone else. You are not late for the kindness that was already appointed to meet you. You are not behind the mercy that has been tracing your steps. You are not disqualified by the chapters that took longer than you wanted. You are being brought forward with care. You are being led into a place where your open hands will matter. You are being prepared to receive without fear and without apology. And you are not alone in this kind of waiting, because across the world there are others who are hearing the same quiet recognition and learning the same release. There is a hidden company of hearts learning to open at the same time, each in its own room, each in its own language, each in its own long night. What is being restored in you is not fragile. It is sturdy enough to survive the delay and soft enough to remain grateful. Let that truth settle over your mind like a calm covering. Let it rest on your chest. Let it stay with you when the screen goes dark and the room becomes ordinary again. The reward is near enough to be trusted. Stay open, stay gentle, stay ready. It is sealed. Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life. A guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you, and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10 Zuru readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who are tired of living in the fog. Ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.